What's up, everybody? It's Enson here, and today we're going to talk about my fight in Pride 5 when I was supposed to fight Mark Kerr, but it became Nishida. So check it out, and I hope you enjoy. Right on.
1978とある田舎町で生まれて移り住んだ新宿で育ち、この町で起きたこれまでの俺たちのここまでの生い立ちはほんのまた序の口、試されたいちいち正してきた過ち、騙し合いやからしないはスニッチの始まり、放課後の山椒児童館にホームアローン、そんな時間はほったらかして向かったとある場所。
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the YAMATODAMASHI podcast. Enson, it's been a while since we've done a podcast. We released the video from Thailand. I wanted to get your thoughts on the video and if you brought back any memories of the time that we spent there, and just kind of cover that off first to begin with.
That was a real good trip for me. I'm lucky it wasn't as hard as I anticipated. I think it helped because the family, it's been 2 years on and the family's actually moved on. You know, for me, it's like I'd never been back to Thailand, so it was still on that pause, like going back when Santian's not going to be there. And in the meantime, the family has moved on. The gym is doing really good. So I guess that emotional energy was pretty much controlled by them already, so that helped a lot. So that was good.
Yeah,
but it's awesome. It was awesome to see the family and the gym doing so well.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Literally, I think since we've released that video, in the last 2 weeks, 2 of their fighters have won fights in one championship. So,
yeah, one of them, the guy Bua, the guy that Tsuyoshida were neck tying with, he got a fucking KO bonus.
Yeah. So fair play, man.
That's, you know, that means that's another 50 grand.
Yeah,
for the family, you know.
yeah. I think that's what struck me about the gym, was it was such a family feeling. And even when I was editing the video and watching it back, I really got that impression again. Like, it reminded me of just what that feeling was like in the gym, and then so it's really great to see how well they're doing and stuff. But
that was so awesome. I mean, I came back with so much better feeling than I thought I was going to come back with, you know, before I was going so worried about how it was going to turn out and everything. And then turned it out like, holy shit, that was so awesome, man.
Yeah, it's great to see how well they're doing, especially not even just the passing of Santi Inoue, the fact that there was COVID as well, like so many things just hit them. So
yeah, they're doing so good, man.
And I have to ask before we get into today's topic, Sean Strickland shocking the MMA world. I know you've got some affiliations with Extreme Couture, and I just kind of wanted to get your impression of the fight. And yeah.
Well, you know, technically, I just thought that eventually Izzy would have figured him out. But I also knew that Sean is a one and only type of guy. He's very unorthodox. He's a stamina monster. He spars a lot. He has a style that's not something that you can have someone imitate. So, you know, I thought he was going to give Izzy a lot of problems in the beginning. And I thought it was going to be more of a takedown, ground and pound game. But, man, that was... He literally outclassed some standing. I mean, he pretty much shut Izzy down, and I think he broke Izzy. Izzy didn't know what to do, and at the last round, when, you know, it was pretty much do or die for Izzy, he didn't really, you know, he still was real cautious, hesitant on throwing punches, and, you know, Sean just had his number, and Sean just shut him down. Man, in the last round, he really couldn't do anything. He didn't seem like he had any avenue to try. So, man, I mean, Eric Nixick is an awesome second. He's an awesome coach. You know, the stuff that he was saying in the corner, you know, I mean, you could tell that Sean's a very different type of person. And Eric knows Sean very well. The way he talked to Sean, Sean was kind of turning his back to him, and Eric would follow him, and grab him, tap him on the shoulder, grab him, pull him back. I just saw on Twitter that if you look at Eric's Twitter, there's some guy that sent him a message saying that
I saw this.
I lost respect for you and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's so funny because I was like, what? I said, when I saw the way he coached Sean, I was like, oh, that's inspirational. This guy's such an awesome coach, man. For me, I was impressed at the way he cornered and the way he, you got, the coaches know the fighters and the coaches know how to talk to the fighters. And that's how Eric needed to talk to Sean, And what? Who gives a shit who he offended or what? The mics are there, the camera's there because it's a show, but in the bottom line, Eric's not doing that for the camera. Eric's not doing that to inspire people. He's doing it to what he's saying and doing the things that his fighter needs to hear.
Yeah.
So if he's gonna swear at his fighter and that's the way him and Sean talk to each other and relate to things, so be it, man. So like he said in his comment back to the guy, maybe you should write a haiku and change sports and watch golf.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. It's on the money though, right? Like
that's unreal though. Sean Strickland. Oh my God.
Yeah.
You know when I first went to Extreme Couture 2 years ago to take Chelsea to train there, Sean stood out so much. I mean, even before training, after training, he's running his mouth, talking, criticizing people, pretty much almost half jokingly, just criticizing people, like calling people out, and right in their face kind. And I thought it was so entertaining and so hilarious. I really didn't even know who he was. Incredibly, 2 years later, he's the UFC champion, but I didn't know who he was. But he was so interesting and so captivating just watching him, the way he does things. I actually went and asked him. He didn't know who I was either. But I asked him, oh, what is your name? And he goes, Sean Strickland. I'm like, fuck, I'm going to follow you. I love the shit you'd say and stuff. So that's crazy, huh? 2 years ago. And he's like he's on top of the mountain now. Unbelievable. Beat Izzy, which is one of the best ever in that division.
Yeah. Yeah. Be interesting to see what happens next. Because there's still obviously like Derek Dupriest. There's Hamzat Chimaev lurking in the wings against
Costa fighting each other soon. Yeah. I mean, that's a real interesting division, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. But let's jump back in time.
What I would like them to do is have Sean, because such an interesting guy, have him sit with the belt on the top and have Izzy fight either that Dupriest or have him fight the winner of Hamzat Costa.
Yeah.
And then the winner of that fight again.
Yeah, you'd get like an undisputed contender, right? Like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see how it shapes out. But we wanted to go back in time a bit today because we are going back to some of the career episodes that we've done in the past. And the next one in your fightography, if that's what we're calling it, is your Pride debut. But I got a ton of questions about it, to be honest, because I think where I wanted to start was a bit about the timeline, just because Pride 1 happened sort of late 97. And that was actually before your fight with Frank Shamrock. And then obviously you had the win in October 98 against Couture. And then the Nishida fight was April 99. But I was curious, when did Pride first contact you? Around what sort of time was it that they would try to sort of lure you from Shooto?
It was right before my title match with Joe Estes.
Wow. Okay.
So that was right. I think a couple months before, or maybe, I think maybe right around when I was supposed to fight Joe Estes, either a little after, I think.
Yeah.
Pride was having Pride 1, and they contacted me to fight, and I remember it because they wanted me to fight for. I was thinking the fight money was $10,000. And at the time, I was fighting for Shooto for like $2,000 or $3,000, and like $10,000. Like, whoa, $10,000! And I didn't think, Pride was a new association, so I didn't think like it was a big association. I thought it might be a one and done, So I knew Hickson was going to fight in it. So was kind of I felt privileged. I was excited, but Shooto didn't want me to fight it. Shooto guaranteed me a title match if I passed it up, and I thought although I'm going to get paid a lot less than Pride, I think to be able to have the title of being the first ever Shooto heavyweight champion was a title that would go down in the history book. So I decided to take the title match.
Yeah, and you are the one and only Shooto heavyweight champion, which is
I know.
which is so cool.
Bad.
I mean, that's cool. At what point did they reach out to you to start maybe making this more serious in terms of moving over to Pride, right? Because Pride 5. So I'm presuming probably after the Randy Couture fight is when the negotiations started heating up maybe more.
Well, for me, after the Randy Couture fight, I saw Mark Kerr fight Hugo Duarte.
Yes.
So yeah, Pride contacted me about fighting in Pride, and I, at the time I just beat Randy, so there was this big, linear champion, and there was this thing about the top pound for pound, and amazingly, I was actually one of the top 5, I think, best fighters in the world. I mean, considered. And if anything, because I beat Randy, my biggest hump to actually get higher up or become considered the best fighter in the world would be beating Mark Kerr. So yeah, so when Pride contacted me, I asked if I could fight Mark Kerr, and yeah, they had Mark Kerr on their fighters list, and that's how it happened. Yeah, so I was on that mission to see if I was was able to conquer all the best fighters in the world, and since I'm just by chance I was able to hurdle the Randy Couture hump. Mm-hmm. And I figured that the last hump would really solidify me as being able to call myself the best fighter in the world was Mark Kerr.
Makes sense. And one of
that's actually how it started. Funny, I wasn't fighting Mark Kerr in Pride 5 though.
Yeah. What I find interesting as well is in the book, Pride apparently asked you 3 times who do you want to fight, and every time you said Mark Kerr. Was there anyone in particular Pride wanted you to fight? Did they mention any names or?
No, they really didn't mention it, but I guess they didn't throw any names at me. But my whole thing was I was a Shooto fighter, and the only reason why I was going to go to Pride was because I wanted to solidify my name and answer questions for myself to see how good I am in the world. I mean, lucky or not, I beat Randy Couture. So, if I could beat Mark Kerr at, even if it's just for a year, I'll be considered the best fighter in the world. So I was actually chasing that challenge, like how these guys chase the double champion, triple champion, whatever. That was kind of my thing. I wanted to chase to see if I could beat the best fighters in the world. And it's a real crazy challenge, but the fact that I was able to beat Randy Couture, it kind of cut the challenge in half. Like now I only have a few more guys,
Yeah, definitely like moved you so far up the ladder with that win that you were in that competition, right? Of being
out of the blue, yeah.
No, I mean, I think people that watched your career could see that there was definitely a possibility. There was to me, the Randy Couture win wasn't a Sean Strickland, Israel Adesanya. It was definitely, could have gone either way, I think. But yeah, so obviously, you keep at Pride about saying you want to fight Mark Kerr. How were the negotiations going into that fight, particularly for when you're asking for a paycheck and given the scale of the fight?
Well, it went back and forth. It got really ugly actually because Egan was doing the negotiations for me. And he was, I think he wasn't talking with Sakakibara. He was talking with an English speaker, someone who was doing the negotiations for Pride. And I think it was Aquino, I think the person's name was. Okay. And I don't know if that person was working on his own or her own, or he was actually going through what Pride wanted him to, but he was pretty much talking shit about me. saying that Egan was a real good manager because I was fighting, I would have been happy to fight for 10 grand because I just wanted to fight. It wasn't about the money at all for me. But Egan was, trying to get me as much money as I can. And I mean, Egan's the reason why my fight money got bigger, like 5 times bigger than I actually would have been. And in that negotiation, there was times where they kind of talked me down, saying that why are you overpricing it? He isn't that good. Kind of straight up like rude shit they were saying. Wow. So Egan was relaying it to me, and I was telling Egan to tell him to fuck off then. So it got really ugly to a point where I was almost going to tell him to fuck off. But luckily, my name at the time was something that they really wanted. And I think I actually ended up contacting Sakaki about them and telling him what the fuck is going on. And my fight money went from 3 grand in Shooto to a offer of 10 grand in Pride 1 to 80 grand.
Nice. Yeah, that's good negotiation. I remember actually when I was in Japan and you showed me some of the emails back and forth, and
yeah, you saw that. It was getting pretty nasty.
It was getting pretty heated.
Yeah, I still have those, man. I should put them in a book.
So you get the deal done. They agree to fight money, and then literally 10 days before the fight, Mark Kerr has to pull out because of an injury. What was your feeling when you heard the news that he had to pull out?
I was so dialed in and ready to fight Mark Kerr and to fight one of the biggest challenges of my life. And, I was ready to die for it. Training my ass off, spent a lot of money bringing fighters and bringing Egan up to Japan, getting me trained. And when I first heard that the fight was going to be called off, my heart dropped. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. It almost feels like almost to a point where the world just blew up, I was lost. I was like, I was looking forward to the fight so much. I was training so hard for the fight that when they told me it was not going to happen, I was pretty much like, holy shit, this bullshit. There's no way. I think I almost cried. Almost brought me to tears. I was so disappointed.
You put so much effort in, right? It's like heartbreaking, right? When something doesn't work out the way you want it to.
You got to figure all the hard work is done, man. The last 10 days when you start tapering, and this is where you're trying to keep yourself moving while you're trying to recover, muscle recovery, because the 3 months that you're training, especially the 2 weeks before that, you're training so hard 3 times a day, breaking the muscle down, and it's time to rebuild. We're in the rest phase, the rebuilding phase, the recuperating phase, and pretty much the 80% of the work's done. It's now just staying smart, staying safe, and keeping your body moving until the fight. I mean, and to say that the fight's not going to happen, that's like heartbreaking.
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine that. And what happens then? So Pride says we'll get you a replacement fighter. What does that mean for the previous negotiations you've had?
No, so Pride actually pretty much called me and told me the fight's off.
Completely.
Whoa. So I pretty much told Pride that, well, you know what? I expect the 80% of my pay. And Sakaki Bada was like, what? And I said, yeah. He said, but you didn't fight. You didn't fight. We didn't get any, ticket sales. We didn't get any, we didn't get your match to sell. And I said, Sakaki Bada, I understand that, but you got to understand from my side as a fighter, 80% of the work is done. I mean, the next 10 days is just preparing for the party. The fun part's happening. And I understand that, if the fight doesn't happen, you guys got zero. But you got to understand my side. So I said, I expect 80% of my pay, or you find me a fight so I can fight. And that's when they went crazy and they searched for a fighter and they found Nishida.
They must have searched high and low because of all names. Nishida was one probably people weren't expecting. Did you know much about Nishida heading into the fight?
I knew he was super huge, and I knew he was a karate super heavyweight champion. So, I mean, I knew he had striking, and I my whole thing was about, maybe taking it to the ground with him. At that moment when they canceled the Mark Kerr fight, I was willing to fight anyone just to get. I mean, all that work was done. I just wanted to fight, so I didn't care. And I knew he was a karate guy, and back in that day, yet like today, you hear you're fighting a karate guy, and you don't know how much ground he's done. Maybe he's a black belt jiu-jitsu too, but his base is karate. Like back in that day, if he's a karate guy, he had no ground.
And then talk to me about the entrances, right? Because he did something that really pissed you off.
Yeah, so the whole atmosphere of the fight is people getting nervous, people getting excited, and yeah, when I'm in the locker room watching him ring entrance, and it's like, whoa, this big dude walking down the runway or the walkway to go to the ring, and he stops and he looks confused, and then he turns around, runs like a little fat boy running back to the locker room. And I mean, it became instantaneously became comical. And I'm here on the other side waiting to make my ring entrance, thinking about this guy wants to kill me and I'm going to kill him, and this might be my last day on earth. And the crowd's laughing in the arena because he's running back to get his cup. And for me, it was upsetting. For one, because it changed the atmosphere into like a comical atmosphere, and two is because now I had to wait longer to get into the ring and fight. I was just wanting to get it over with.
Yeah, and I also wanted to ask, your entrance, that was the debut of your own entrance music, right? What's the story behind the song?
Yeah, well, I felt that the song is something that I felt like that's right before I die. That's the last song I'm going to hear. So I thought I wanted to hear the word. I love the melody of the Fiji song, the E Papa, and that was my ring entrance that I used to use. And I thought, there's one part in the song of E Papa that it's a Maori song. It's amazingly that it's Sarah's Maori, and it was a Maori song. And in the chorus it said Inoue, Inoue, sounding like Inoue, like they're calling me. So, and then there's a part that's Gambatte, like it's almost like they're saying Gambatte ayo, like, whoa, they're telling me Inoue to Gambaru. So when I heard that, I thought, wow, how would it feel to have the lyrics of the song saying exactly what I want to hear before I go into the ring and possibly die. So we went through this process of finding a singer, and the manager that I had was a dumbass, and he found the girl singer, and so we had to go with that because he brought a girl in to sing it. And the words, I wrote the lyrics to the words to what I would want to hear, and that's how it happened. And that was at one time, and just that the girl's voice just didn't work with it. Right. So that was a one and done.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I thought I'd heard different versions of the song, so it's now it all makes sense, like why. And so let's talk about the fight. Obviously, you come out super frustrated with the atmosphere, right? You've had people in the crowd laughing, and you can hear them in the broadcast when he was running up the ramp. You could hear them laughing because of the fact that he'd forgotten his groin guard or what have you. What did that do to you in the fight?
It made me angry, but I'm already fighting angry because I'm angry at this guy wants to end my life. So I don't know if it really made a difference, but what it might have changed in the fight was when I got the choke, I did hold it a couple seconds longer because I was angry.
And in the fight, you hurt your hand, right? That was like the first sign of a hand
Yeah, it
injury.
was so fucked up because it was that first punch. I mean, you can see still today that this knuckle is gone. Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, so this knuckle is flat. It's actually back here now. You see a little hump right here. That's the knuckle now. So that first punch, it was weird because it didn't hit him in the chin. It hit him on the head, and it kind of grazed off his head. But it was enough to push that knuckle back. And yeah, I mean, he luckily he fell, and I got on the mount. He turned his back. I choked him out. Held it a little longer than a couple seconds after the ref told me to stop. And right there, I knew because after the fight, I threw out some shirts. But when I threw out the shirts, I could feel something. My hand, I knew there was something broken. And as soon as he went in the back, the doctor looked at it. He called it a boxer's fracture. So I think that on this pointer knuckle, that happens a lot in the boxers where this bone will break.
Right.
So yeah, that just Mark Kerr postponed the fight to injury, and now I was hurt and I had to have my hand healed. So I prolonged the fight with Mark Kerr.
Yeah. I know, obviously some aspects of the debut didn't work out for you, but I did see that you had Shooto in the ring with you, your beloved dog as well. So that was pretty cool. He also made his Pride debut.
Yeah, so Shooto actually was in the Shooto ring when I beat Joe Estes. Then he came into the Valetudo ring when I beat Randy Couture, and he came into the Pride ring when I beat Nishida. So that's like the only dog that's been in 3 different huge arenas before.
Been in 3 different organizations.
Yeah, big organization.
Yeah. And you also, Egan was on that card, right? And I was curious, was it beneficial to you? And I wonder if fighters have different views on this, but is it beneficial sometimes to have other training partners that are on the same fighting card, you think?
I don't like it because then you kind of split your anxiety to your teammate or your brother fighting. I'd rather not have that happen. I'd rather either he fight or I fight. But yeah, I mean, that's the way it happened. Egan was offered a fight too, and he did good and he won, so that was pretty cool. I remember because I don't think I cornered him because I had to consider my fight.
Yeah, because you guys are usually in each other's corner, right? But I saw that that you went in his corner for that fight. But I have to ask you about the main event as well, subject of Pride 5, because it was the infamous Takada versus Mark Coleman, which is probably largely accepted.
That one happened. I didn't know that. I forgot.
Yeah, it was probably the most infamous fixed fight in history. I can't think of a more prevalent fixed fight than Takada Coleman. I mean, if anyone does, put it in the comments, but that's the big one to me that always sticks out, because if you remember, Takada did this like spinning heel hook kind of thing, and then Coleman's thinking about it, reaching. It looked really, really pro wrestling. And
even before that, the way Coleman was doing the ground and pound, he wouldn't go for the face. He was hitting the leg. And Coleman, he's the best ground and pound fighter in the world, I believe. I mean, he threw the biggest and hardest and scariest punches. And the fact that he was just throwing arm punches, I mean, that was pretty fishy. And then, yeah, like you said, the ending where, he kind of had that, and he tapped, So yeah. I felt like I didn't want to dish Pride, and I didn't want to straight up without 100% facts say that was a fake fight. Mm-hmm. So when I was interviewed about it, I just told them that it's just different rules from what I fight.
Right.
That's what I thought about the fight. I said different rules than what I fight in.
Yeah.
That's what I said, and it's kind of interpreted, and it was a fixed fight.
Was it
very disappointing?
Was there a lot of like? You probably wouldn't have noticed, right? You just want to fight. You're probably not really thinking about like the main event or anything like that. But do you remember in that sort of time, like days after, people talking about like, was this fight fixed or?
Yeah, it was a big thing. Yeah, it was a big thing. I
Mm.
mean, I actually got interviewed about it. People asked me what I thought about the fight, and that's where I made that comment
So
that
you said that.
it was different rules than I fight.
Yeah. Wow, it's interesting.
And that's where Takada got pissed off. Yeah, and I was one of the biggest draws in Pride. So me and Sakuraba.
Yeah.
So me and Sakuraba used to do a lot of TV shows, and we used to do a lot of magazine interviews. And from that day on, after I made that comment about Takada's fight, he was the top guy in Sakuraba's gym. Yeah. So Takada's gym. Sakura was fighting under Takada. So Takada forbade him to ever have any more jobs with me
Really? Wow.
because of that comment.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
I couldn't give a shit.
I mean, you guys are
Zero
fine
fucking-
now, right? But you've had quite the history with Takada, right?
Yeah. A long history with Takada, and up and down, and in the end, we're all good now. So that's what matters, actually.
Yeah, cool. I won't go over old incidents, but it's somewhere in this podcast. So do your diligence, do your due diligence, and you will find some funny.
Find it.
So that's pretty much it. I mean, overall, when you kind of look at your Pride debut, what's your lasting memory? I suppose, like how is it how you'd want your initial debut on the big stage to be remembered? I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, I wanted it to be Mark Kerr, but I think it was nice to have a victory. Unfortunately, I got injured. But Seibu Dome is a huge arena, so that was a good experience. Shooto, you're fighting in like a little Korakuen Hall, and you could actually put Korakuen Hall in Seibu Dome and still have a lot of space. So, to be able to fight in a huge arena like that was pretty exciting for me. Yeah, it was like the start of something really big.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. But yeah, that's it. Pretty much, you've got a pretty crazy schedule coming up, right?
Yeah. So, yep, we got Shoshi coming up on the fight card on the September 24th, fighting Duffy. Todd Duffy, yep, very tough fight for Shoshi. So we're getting prepared for that. Then we got Animal Koji fighting in October 1st in Nagoya. So I got to travel out to that one, and he's fighting Igor Tanabe, Unreal Grappler. So that's going to be a tough one. But we're trying to work on that right now. And then we got Koichi fighting in December. But in between that, I go home. I might have to go to Thailand at the end of September. And I also might have to I will go to Hawaii at the mid-December, October. So, yeah, a busy schedule coming up ahead for to end off the year. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed that episode. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Get the word out. Help us grow. And we will see you guys again soon.
Right on. Everyone, that episode was fun. You guys liked it? Tell me in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Right on, everybody.